Hello and welcome to the first video entry and podcast episode of 2026. Aliveness has become such a creative portal for me to express, to reflect, to show up and be visible on camera. And this year, I hope to bring more of this to you and to myself because it is such a gift for myself. The process of creating and sitting down and setting the vibe and tone and the notes for these chats is something I just enjoy so much. So if you're watching or listening, thank you for being here. Today, I want to bring you an episode and I guess reflections, multiple reflections on the closing of 2025 and the opening and the welcoming of 2026. I hope to be as candid as possible, and also there are some parts that I'll probably keep really close to my heart because I just like to move that way when it comes to like goal setting and intentions. I'm definitely the type of person that like when I speak about my goals, I act as if they already happened because I'm speaking about them. And then I just feel myself energetically not as devoted to them. So that is some context of me and where I'm hoping to take you today. We'll talk about what mattered in 2025, how I walked into 2025 to begin with, what like quietly and loudly fell away and shed out of my life, and then how I plan to integrate those learnings and carry them into 2026 and then just ultimately walk differently into 2026, which we're already here, it's Monday. But yeah, to give you all some context and to kind of take it back, in January of 2025, Sai and I had just landed back in Mexico after being away for 6 weeks. We went to Europe and then we rang in the new year in Puerto Escondido in Oaxaca with my family. And the first couple of weeks of January, we were ultimately also just preparing to move into our new home that we had just closed on. And we were going to sign those first weeks of January. So I knew okay, I just went on an adventure of a lifetime. I indulged, I rested, I had all the wine, all the bread, went to the beach to go recenter myself. And then I'm coming back and I'm fuck, now I gotta build a home. The structure is here, my home, my house is here, and spiritually and energetically, it takes a lot to craft it and make it your own. So we had a new home. Our new puppy that we had gotten in October, but then we went away for 6 weeks, was now going to be integrated into our family. Now there's 4 of us. Puppy life, as you all know, is not easy either. But Mocha is such a good dog. And anyway, there's a new addition to the family. And then I also knew that I was going to spend most of February and March planning mine and Sai's engagement party, which happened in April. So I was okay, we're coming in real strong. There is a lot happening in my relationships, in the way that we were preparing for this home, and also tending to our family. So, fuck, now that I think back on it, damn, that is a lot. That was a lot. And knowing all of that, I also walked into 2025 wanting that and more. And I don't mean more in a sense of greediness and not being happy with what's already present, but I wanted more expansion in the way that I impact, in the way that I lead, in the way that I create, in the way that I'm visible. I was more, give it to me more. I'm ready. I'm initiated. I have become the woman that I'm proud to be. I'm ready. Give it to me. And I definitely got that. I got that in different doses at different times throughout the year. And I got the shadow of that, or the binary, or the dichotomy, the opposite of that as well. 2025 was yeah, okay, we'll give you that. And Like, we're going to ask you to edit, we're going to ask you to refine, we're going to ask you to shed different areas of your life. Like, we need to take stock here. And what it made me question, and like ultimately one of the biggest themes is like the learning of my own rhythm. Like, what is my creative rhythm? In what way am I operating and creating and pausing? Am I pausing anymore? Like, I was so, I am such a woman of momentum and like excitement, and I pour myself into my creative ambitions. Funny, my old podcast was called The Bold Ambition. And so that's easy for me to do. Like, easy, like I know how to do that. What isn't easy for me, and what has been a constant karmic cycle, and I hope to eliminate this narrative and overcome this narrative in 2026 of burnout and not knowing how to rest, not knowing when to say no, being confident in my no. Whoa, that was a big learning in December. Like, it all tied up and like beautifully was wrapped in December as this big gift of a lesson at the end of December. I will get there eventually, but that's how I started my year. Energetically, I was like already spread thin, kind of exhausted from the adventure and the travels that we had just been on. And then like thrust into this new life, this building of a new life, and like really like rooting in even more into what is important to me, which is my home, my family, my love. Like, these are the roots that sustain me and allow me to like spread my branches and like have beautiful ripe green leaves. And that is like the visual that I have just really, I don't know, sat with in all of 2025, of like the rooting of this, thick trunk. It's brown and it's like, actually I'm literally thinking of the tree in my backyard. It's so big and luscious and old, and she's rooted in. And then her branches and like her leaves, and she's a peppercorn tree, and like all the peppercorns that she leaves are like so, like that wouldn't be possible if she didn't have strong roots. Anyway, learning of my rhythm. I learned my creative rhythm and ultimately accepted that there is no linear path. And also, I've had conversations with Lisa, shout out to my girl Lisa Curlap, around being process over results oriented, and not just oriented, but I want to be process obsessed. Like, I want to be so obsessed with my own creative process that I don't even know what the fuck the results are going to be. I don't even want to know, because I don't want to limit myself. Instead, I want the work to speak for itself, and I want the daily devotion that I'm committing to be like the vehicle that I'm like so happily driving in, versus like looking ahead to like the results and the goals and like holding on to a grip of like, this is the goal and like this is what I need so desperately. Like, that's kind of the energy I was in like October, November, December, and that's what kind of led me to this whole reflection around surrendering again and really asking myself, do I really know, and do I embody rest and nourishment and pausing and solitude and stillness? Is that an embodiment of mine? I had to be honest, and I was like, right now, no. And that brings me to like where I'm gonna walk into 2026 with like all of these different learnings. But before we get into that, I do want to talk about other, decisions and stances that I took in 2025 and like learnings that came of it. So, I'm reading some of my notes on my computer, and this year in my marketing world and realm, and I don't even want to call it that anymore. It is part of my creative devotion. It is part of me and part of what I happily get to do every day. I freelance, and when it comes to freelancing, you can say yes to every single project that comes across your desk, that comes into my email inbox. Like, I can say yes to absolutely everything, except then I would be depleted and have nothing left of myself. That was more of a lesson from 2024 and 2023. So in 2025, I absolutely like started saying no, and also stopped doing like outreach and looking for other opportunities because I wanted to go deeper into the work that was already in front of me. So I chose fewer specifically aligned projects and clients and went deeper with them. And this also speaks to like the long term and the longevity of building relationships with clients and being really riding that arc over constantly having like output, execution. But when you have fewer clients, they get to see you also grow. Like, I started doing social media management for one of my clients, What She Said, who I'm also a partner with. And now I am their brand marketing architect. So there has just been a lot of growth and just a very steady growth and a steady listening of like what my client actually wants. Where can I come in and fill the gaps? Where am I also now overcoming that skill set and like not overcoming, but like outgrowing that skill set and like ready to now lead and manage and just go about it in a more creative director role and visionary role versus like being in the day-to-day weeds of like the tasks and the output, which is so important. And at the same time, I knew like my heart and my eye is in the vision, and my clients now trust me to do that and run with that. And that was like a huge like fuck, like I'm here moment. And I'm very proud of the way that I chose to do that path, because if I had just started saying yes to all the clients and like just stayed in the weeds of social media management, I don't know if I would have gotten like the spaciousness to jump into more visionary roles and strategy roles and like just having more ownership and leadership over like the overall brand image and things that I now very much enjoy. I also saw a shift in the way that I was allowing myself to be visible. Like, actually for the last couple of years, I was very much like still shy and finding my voice, refining my voice, understanding what values and what work I actually wanted to put forth, and going back to the process. Now I'm like, oh, let's just show the process of literally me finding my voice and literally me approaching my own becoming and not needing it to be perfect. So, okay, my mom's calling me. 1 second. My mom is so cute. She called to ask if I want to join her on her mani-pedi appointment tomorrow. So that's lovely, but I declined because my nails are still good. Where was I? Visibility and allowing myself to just show my process of finding it and crafting it and refining it versus waiting until it's perfect and I know exactly what I'm going to say and I know exactly what I'm going to look like and I have this perfect script to like do anything or post anything. And showing up online has actually always been quite important to me. I started making like YouTube videos when I was, 12, music videos with my brother. And obviously it's evolved in the way that I want to show up and the values that I want to showcase and what I want to practice ultimately and put out. So this 2025 was like actually putting that into practice because I had gone quiet for a long time. I had gotten shy and not put so much of my leadership out there, and like my art, and my, I don't know, like everything is art, everything is artistic. We are all artists. Everything that we do, speak, say, think is like contributing to our energetic field, and what we want to put out and how people receive that is their own, responsibility. It's not ours, but that's kind of changed the way that I think about showing up online. It's like, oh, this is all, we can all just be messy and like have fun. It also doesn't have to be this like serious thing. It can be casual, and it doesn't have to be an edited video. It can just be a Substack portal where I turn on the mic and I'm like, hey, this is me today. Where are you at? I hope this drives some sort of inquiry for you. If not, cool. Like that's kind of the vibe I'm on. Like, fuck it at this point. The last point that I want to drive home when it comes to what actually mattered in 2025, and I kind of spoke to this a little earlier, is to trust the timing in my own leadership, and also trusting timing as a form of leadership. Like, to trust the timing is to be a leader. To rush it and to be hurried and to force is not the way that I want to lead. And this is a life's cycle and purpose and devotion. And I don't want to be the one that decides when it must go out and how, and all of the little patriarchal subtleties that push us towards output and striving and more, versus just also honoring the silence and the nurturing parts and the gestating parts of life. So I'm really, that's a huge one for me. And I think I spoke to this when I was speaking about November, December. At the end of those 2 months, I had a really big realization around, oh my God, I've been gripping, like desperately gripping onto my creative work as a means to an end, as I need this to succeed. And success can have so many different definitions, but for me, it was like financially, impact. Are people coming? Am I worthy of being a vessel for this creative work as a somatic practitioner and as someone who is like highly devoted to feminine leadership? Like, I was gripping and like desperate for it to work. And I was like, fuck, me gripping is literally the antithesis of the work that I'm supposedly passionate about and trying to bring into the world. Like, what am I doing? I'm literally suffocating it with my expectations and old ways of thinking and old ways of approaching work, and not letting it breathe. Like, I was not letting it breathe. Like I said, I'm excited and I'm devoted and I pour myself all in, and I need to know when to step back and allow it to just bloom and not maybe have eyes on it all the time, and or be just more gentle with it and approach it in a more, I don't know, nourishing, artistic, motherly way, instead of this project that has an objective and KPIs. And I am actually cringing at the thought of that. Like, it's not a project. I don't want to even look at it as a business. I want to look at it as like art, and that art becomes a business. So yeah, this might feel a little vague, but I feel like you get it. And if you don't, let's chat. And I'd love to go deeper into this, but yeah. I also have here like some other notes around what I released. And I think I've already spoken to this enough, but like I wrote here, releasing urgency as default mode and allowing decisions to be made from clarity rather than momentum. And the through line from what I've shared thus far is that I am leaning into self-trust expressed through discernment in relationships, in material things that enter my sphere, in work, in new things that I say yes to, whether it's for fun or for work or for personal or romantically. Like, what am I saying yes to, and what am I actually allowing to take up energetic space in my sphere? Because my energy and my time is the most valuable thing I have. And so I am getting much clearer with my no. I've already begun to say no to things that I had originally said yes to for 2026. And I'm like, wait, no, I need more space. I need something else. No, I can't. I'm sorry. No, thank you. And I want to shout out my mentor, Sophie Burns, who helped me like just unravel this a little bit, because it's just, yeah, it's something that I keep coming back to. And I'm like, fuck, I really need to be good and get good at my no. And also the self-trust part, trusting myself through my cycles. I'd love to share more like in regards to the phases, like menstruation and luteal. I love to take a bath. Actually, okay, that's a lie. I don't have a bathtub, but I love to take a candlelit shower, come back into my office and my sanctuary, light more candles, put a nice scent, put on some really relaxing music, pour myself a glass of wine, and just like read or write or allow what wants to come through to just come through on a canvas, on a keyboard, whatever it may be. Maybe it's just sitting in silence, but like going into the underworld in darkness with candlelight with the moon at night, always, like that's my thing. That's what keeps me sustained and like inspired. And when I'm in follicular and ovulation, I'm taking action on those seeds and ideas that were planted during luteal and menstruation. Like I'm taking also just better care of like my routines and habits, because I do have the energy to sustain them, versus in luteal and menstrual, I want to just like relax a little bit more and be more in flow and listen to what my body actually needs. And maybe those habits are just a little slower, or there's a removal of them completely because I don't want to overwhelm myself. But I really have leaned into trusting my cyclical power and movement as a woman. And fuck, if you haven't yet, please let this be your sign too. I mentioned the word sustainability briefly, and I just want to expand on that and say that like learning my creative rhythm is what has made the expansion sustainable. Even though there were many moments in 2025 where I felt like I was spread so thin that there was nothing left of me. There were puzzle pieces of me spread everywhere, and I had to like go and retrieve them and like put them back into myself. And that is exhausting. Not only is it exhausting, but it's also like heartbreaking. And I don't want to harp too much on that piece, because I also don't want to, like, there's so much medicine in there too. I don't want it to seem like, oh, like, woe is me, I had to go pick up my pieces again, because it's really an honor to do so. And the fact that I was even able to like get to that decision of like choosing to put myself back together and like start saying no, like that in itself is honorable. And like that's what I want you to walk away with. Wow, that was a lot. I want to know what else like I want to mention about 2025. I'm not sure if I spoke to this already, but my embodiment circles is probably one of my key highlights. In February of 2025, a dear friend and neighbor, she has her own company, and she invited me to host the Women's Wellness Circle in February. And I remember being so nervous. I was going to do it in Spanish. I got like these cute journals for them. I led a meditation. I took cacao, and then we journaled and cried, and like, wow, that was a beautiful experience. And that was the first time that I like put myself out there like that in this way as a facilitator. And I also hosted another in-person one, just, from my own dream and like vision and idea. I asked my dear sister Camila to co-lead it with me, and she led the meditation portion. But it was similar. It was like 10 to 12 women. I took cacao. We wrote poetry, we shared from the heart, and like those two events are some like whoa, like those, I can't believe, like I started my year like that and then I ended it like that. And in between, I held online spaces and circles. I began to grow an email list for the first time, began to send like monthly love letters and just like recaps, something that I really hope to nourish and continue in consistency this year. And on top of that, I've become more attunely aware and knowing of the message and the work and offers that I want to put out as a facilitator, as a creative doula, as someone who can really proudly stand beside women and folk who have a creative vision and want to see it through. And like they need support and they need the how and they need just some guidance on where and how to birth the vision and then ultimately run with it. Like our dear wild horse. I don't know if I've mentioned this already, but I have. Obviously, I know it's like the horse, the year of the horse, but I think I'm gonna add like another fun word and like I'm commencing my wild horse era. And I kind of, at the end of the year of 2025, I was also like forgetting who I was and like I was forgetting my wild nature and my sensuality and like I don't know, like I was like, whoa, like I love those parts of myself and they've been here with me and I've kind of maybe neglected or just ignored them because I was so busy like gripping onto something that ultimately wasn't true. So yeah, I think that's a wrap on 2025. And what I will speak on now, just briefly, is how I'm entering 2026. I see it as, I see it as a year of growth rooted in what's already true and what's already present. In 2025, I also did a lot of learning and a lot of learning. Like I poured myself into my studies. I'm kind of exhausted just thinking about it, but also so lit up by it because I was so eager and curious to grow and to be, an expert in this world. There is no such thing, but I want to nourish what's already here, what's already present. Instead of adding more things, I'm just going to deepen and devote myself to what's already here. There are a couple of different projects that are already here and that are calling my name, and we're starting off really strong with them this week. I also have like my non-negotiables that I reflected on yesterday. I was like sitting outside on the patio in our backyard with Sai. And like I have my like projects and then I have my non-negotiables of like working out 4 times a week, weekly money dates, reading 10 pages a day. I used to be such a big reader and an avid reader and I've kind of let that fall short. Yeah, there's a lot and I want to keep it close to me and like share in due time. But what I'm taking in is, yeah, honoring my creative rhythm, listening to that creative rhythm, patience, slowness, and the continued trust that I have in myself. And like, I do feel like a little spark of fire to like get things off the ground again creatively. And maybe this is also the year where I share more of what that actually looks like the process and like what I'm actually talking about when I say like creative work, because I feel like that's so vague. Yeah, that'd be really fun to share. Okay, I think that this feels complete for the episode. I'd love to invite you to reflect on what you're editing in 2026, or what did you already edit in 2025 and what's ready to grow. This is a new chapter for the podcast too, because I hope to be more consistent and show up online, just, yeah, not just more, but in more intentional ways of like what I'm sharing, and hoping to make it valuable and just a little nugget of whimsical wisdom. There will be more deeper conversations. I also hope to bring on guests, because I fucking love the women that I'm surrounded by, and I think I would love to just, talk for an hour. And in due time, I will share more of what's to come and projects that I'm working on that you can be a part of. At the end of January, I will also be hosting my January embodiment circle. More to come there. You can check the links below. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. I adore you, and I'm gonna go back to my little creative sanctuary, my journal, and my café. So